Hello and welcome to eChinese Learning Pod, your go-to podcast for learning Chinese and exploring Chinese culture. To protect speakers' privacy and enhance audio quality, some or all voices in this episode are created with AI assistance.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are stepping into what you might call a linguistic minefield.
That's a good way to put it.
We're unpacking this subtle, sophisticated world where being extremely polite can actually be a really refined form of critique.
Yeah, the art of the icy smile.
Exactly. We're focusing on these specific phrases in Chinese that, on the surface, look like compliments, but, well, they land like a punch.
Right. And for you, the listener, the mission here is really to get the tools you need to navigate these kinds of high context situations.
They'll have to look past the dictionary.
Way past it. We need to understand how, a specific tone or a certain context can take a positive phrase and just flip it into an expert level insult.
Okay, so let's get into it. The core concept here is this idea of a savage roast delivered through praise. The words themselves are positive.
Purely positive.
But the meaning is just scathing. The first one we need to look at is 不愧是你.
Right. 不愧是你.
Now, if I just look that up, the direct literal translation is something like, as expected of you.
That's it. And if you just read it on a page, you'd think, oh, that's admiration or, a confirmation of someone's high status or skill.
But if you hear it said with a certain dryness or that icy smile you mentioned, what are you actually hearing? What's the real message there?
What you're really hearing is something closer to, wow, only you could have done something this ridiculous.
Oh, that's brutal.
So subtle. It really is. And the fascinating thing is that the phrase itself is, it's neutral. It can be genuine praise.
Well,
but in a culture where you want to avoid direct conflict, that ambiguity becomes the weapon. The meaning shifts completely based on the speaker's tone, and critically, the context of whatever foolish thing just happened. That's the linguistic trap.
Okay, so that's how you can weaponize praise.
Yeah.
What happens when you just flat out disagree with someone? You can't just say, that's a terrible idea.
No, not if you want to maintain harmony. Instead, you politely wish them happiness.
Which brings us to our second core phrase, 你高兴就好.
你高兴就好.
And the literal translation seems totally fine. It's just, as long as you're happy.
Sounds harmless, like you're giving in, you're letting them have their way.
But what is the speaker really saying with that?
The subtext couldn't be sharper. It's basically, I think this is a horrible idea, and I completely disagree with you, but I also know there's no point in arguing anymore. So go ahead, do your foolish thing.
This is the conversation killer.
The ultimate conversation killer. It shuts down the dialogue, signals your total disapproval, but you never have to be explicitly rude.
So we're seeing a clear pattern here. You take passive-sounding language, and you just load up the subtext to handle criticism.
It's a consistent strategy, and we see it in other phrases from the sources too. For instance, get this one. 您真是用心了.
Okay, what does that sound like on the surface?
It sounds like a huge compliment. You've really put in such painstaking effort.
Which sounds great, but I'm guessing the subtext is just as barbed as the others.
Oh, absolutely. The hidden meaning is often something like, all of this elaborate scheming must have been absolutely exhausting for you. It implies their efforts were, manipulative or just misguided.
Wow.
And you even see it with a shorter version of the other phrase, 你开心就好. Literally, as long as you're happy. But when you hear that, it means the other person has decided, this conversation is pointless, we're at a dead end.
So the main takeaway here seems to be that in these high-context communications, the literal translation is really just the price of admission.
That's a great way to put it.
Understanding the hidden judgment, that icy smile behind the words.
Yeah.
That's the real power.
Exactly. What all these examples show is just how much work the unspoken context is doing. It forces you to rethink language itself. And, well, that raises a question for you, our listener, to think about.
Go on.
If praise can be an insult, what commonly used, seemingly harmless phrase in your own language, something you probably hear every day, is actually carrying a hidden, deeper meaning that only the locals really understand, something to mull over.
Want to practice what you've learned today with a real Chinese teacher? You can get a free one-on-one trial lesson at eChineseLearning.com. That's it for today's episode of eChinese Learning Pod. Thanks for tuning in.